Welcome to Lesson 119, Dividing Decimals by Whole Numbers. Today we're going to talk about how to divide decimals by whole numbers. First thing we need to know about is long division and how to use long division correctly. Now some of us might already know how to do this, so this will be a review for you. Others, don't hesitate to pause, rewind, and go back if you're still struggling with long division. I know it can be complicated, so make sure to take as much time on this as you need. There are 4 steps with long division. The first is to divide. The second is actually to multiply. Then we subtract. And then we bring down the next number. Okay, to help us remember these 4 steps, we can use the sentence, "Dirty monkeys smell bad." It's a silly sentence, but it always helps you remember the DMSB, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. I've had a lot of students in the past who have used this sentence, and it's really helped them out to remember what they needed to do next. Okay, so now another thing we need to remember is when we are putting together our long division problem, after you draw your long division sign, you actually have to flip-flop where your numbers go. So the second number goes on the outside and the first number goes on the inside. I know that previously your teachers have told you that the bigger number goes on the inside. It's not like this because we don't always do division in the manner of a bigger number divided by a smaller number. So you always need to remember to crisscross these numbers. The last goes on the outside, the first goes on the inside. So you can look at it this way. The first number gets inside the door before the second number does. Okay. The next thing that we need to do after we've set up our long division problem is to put up our chairs. Now the reason we put up these boxes is because I know sometimes when we do long division we like to get a little sloppy and all of a sudden this 1 ends up over here and then a 2 here. If we have a decimal in this, we can't have our numbers not matching up because then our decimal ends up in the wrong place. So we need to make sure to put up our chairs, and each chair has to have something in the seat before our problem is done. You can always add more seats if more people come, but you need to make sure that you have enough seats for the number of people that are there right now. So now the first step is to divide. So what this means is we have to look at the first number, which is 9. That tells us how many pieces we have. The 8 tells us how many we need to make a full group. So how many groups of 8 can we make with 9 pieces? I can make one full group. Now I multiply. 1 times 8 is 8. So now I've multiplied, now I have to subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Now I have to bring down the next number, which is an 8. And notice I can't go back to the division until I brought down that second number. Even if that number is a 0, I have to wait until I brought it down to move on. Now I need to look, I have 18 pieces this time, not just 8, I have 18 because I had one left over here. How many groups of 8 can I make with 18 pieces? In this case, I can make 2 groups because 2 times 8, so now I'm into multiplication, is 16. I subtract, 18 minus 16 is 2, and then I bring down. Now I have 21 pieces. How many groups of 8 can I make? I can still only make 2. 2 times 8 is 16. When I subtract, I get 5. Now, to know if your answer is correct, to know if you chose the right number for up here, if you ever get leftovers that are bigger than this number, you've done something incorrectly. Then that means that you can make another full group. Okay, so if you get a subtraction and you end up with a number that is equal to or bigger than this outside number, try again. Again, I have to bring down. I have 56 pieces, so 56 divided by 8, I can make 7 groups. 7 times 8 is 56. Now I have 0 left over, so my answer here is 1,227. Okay, I believe I gave you the opportunity to practice on your own here. There you go. So I want you to set up your problem and then pause and come back when you've tried it and check your answer. All right, so once you're done, you should have noticed that we put up 3 chairs. Now in this case, 5 can't go into 4. I don't have enough pieces for a whole group, so we put the 0 here. That's okay for right now. Okay, so 4 minus 0 was 4. Brought down the 7. We had 47 pieces. We can make 9 groups. 9 times 5 is 45. Okay. Now, when we write our answer, we want to write it in the best way possible. So even though we have 0, 9, 5 up here, we don't write this 0. We just write that our answer is 95. Again, if you're struggling with that, please make sure to pause. You can go through this, rewind, go over it again. Make sure that you are comfortable with this before we move on to the next piece. All right, so when you're dividing a decimal by a whole number, you use long division as you normally would. Okay, so in this case, we're going to set it up where we put the 5 on the outside and the 75/100ths on the inside. Okay, and we put up our chairs, and we look and we know that 5 goes into 0 0 times. If I have no pieces, I can't make any groups. 0 times 5 is 0, so I subtract, and I bring down the 7, because 0 minus 0 is 0. Now I have 7 pieces, so I can make one group of 5. 7 minus 5, because 1 times 5 is 5, gives us 2, and then we bring down the next 5. I have 25 pieces. With those 25 pieces, I can make 5 groups of 5. 5 times 5 is 25. I subtract, and I end up with 0, so I don't need this extra box over here. Now, just like in addition and subtraction where we brought the decimals straight down, here we bring the decimal straight up. This is why it's important to keep our numbers in the correct places, because if we had even shifted this over one spot to the right, so if this 0 were here, we would end up with the incorrect answer. The correct answer in this case is 0 and 15/100ths. Now what some students like to do, and I'm totally fine with this, some students like to do this and set it up so that way when they put their chairs up, I apologize here, let me clean that up. Erase this. Some students like to do it like this, so that way when they put their chairs up, they already know where the decimal goes, so they put a chair here, they bring up the decimal right away, and then bring up the other 2 chairs. That's fine as well. However you want to do it, just as long as you make sure that that decimal goes straight up. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to try this next one on your own. This one is in your notes, okay, because the one we just did was not. Again, when you set it up, okay, you should have the 3 on the outside and the 2 and 52/100ths on the inside. Then what I want you to do is pause, try the problem, and when you come back, we'll go over your answer. All right, so now, again, we know that 3 cannot go into 2. We don't have enough to make a full group, so we subtract. Okay, after we subtract, we had 2 left over. We brought down the 5. 3 could go into 25 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. We subtract, bring down the 1. Now we have to bring down the 2. 3 can go into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. When we subtract, we get 0. So our answer in this case is 0 and 84/100ths. All right, so I'm going to try one of these with you, and then what we're going to do is you are going to pause, try them on your own, and come back and check your answers. Okay, so now what I want you to do first is I actually want you to set up all of these. I want you to pause and set all of these up in their long division, so with your table and your chairs. Okay, when you come back, we'll check to make sure you have them set up correctly. Okay, now that you're back, this is how we needed to have all of these set up. Okay, again, we start with the first number. How many groups of 6 can we make with one piece? Well, we can't make any, so we put a 0 here. 0 times 6 is 0, so we're going to do 1 minus 0, bring down the 3. Now I have 13 pieces. How many groups of 6 can I make with 13 pieces? I can make 2. 2 times 6 is 12. I subtract. Okay. Now I bring down the 8. I have 18 pieces. How many groups of 6 can I make with 18 pieces? I can make 3. 3 times 6 is 18. Bring my decimal straight up. In this case, the answer is 0 and 23 hundredths. Alright, so what you're going to do now is you are going to try the rest of these on your own, and you're actually going to post your answers to Edmodo. So I've given you the 3 right here that I want you to try on your own. Okay, and I am going to tell you that for this last one, okay, you end up having to add boxes to the end. Now, because we have a decimal here, you can always add zeros to the end. So actually, why don't we try this one together? So I have 0, and I need to make a group of 4. Well, I can't do that. So 0 times 4 is 0. Okay, bring down the 2. Well, now I have 2 pieces. Still can't make a group of 4, so 0. 0 times 4 is 0. Now, what I do here is I add a 0 to the end, because I can do that, and because I added a 0, I have to add another chair. I bring down that 0, and I know that I have 20 pieces, and I can actually make 5 groups of 4 with those 20 pieces. 20 minus 20 is 20. Bring my decimal straight up, so my answer here is 0 and 5 hundredths. Okay, so what I would like you to do here, I'd like you to try numbers 1 and 2 on your own and post your answers to Edmodo. If you have any questions, make sure to write them down or post them on Edmodo so we can go over them in class tomorrow.